what happened in the elections earlier this week? Democrats had a clean sweep, but we're not entirely sure that means that there's some blue wave coming. House Speaker Mike Johnson had a very optimistic view of Republican prospects in the upcoming midterms. Take a listen.
When I say I'm bullish about the midterms, we absolutely are, and there's a lot of reasons for that. This is not groundless optimism. It's based on facts. The reason we're in such a great position is because we are united. And while the Democrats engage in their emerging civil war, Republicans are going to continue to work and deliver for all the new voters that we brought into the party last fall in 2024. You have hundreds of thousands of new young people weekly coming into the movement that are enthusiastic, young conservatives who are looking for truth, who believe in America's founding principles, and who want to be engaged. And they will be engaged in next year's midterms.
It sounds like Speaker Johnson is really relying on young voters to propel Republicans to success. And when we think about young voters on the political right, we check in with the leadership at Turning Point USA. Andrew Colvett and Tyler Bauer had a very different perspective on where young voters are right now. Take a listen.
The economy for people under 30 is catastrophic. Hiring for entry-level positions in the U.S. is horrible right now.
Well, and a lot of that, you're seeing these mass layoffs.
The average age of a first-time home buyer is just eclipsed 40 years old. It's gone up, I think, 9 years or something, or 7 years in like 5 years total.
In most states, you cannot win an election if you lose the under 40 vote. You just the entire electorate has shifted. It is millennial heavy. If you are losing by double digits the millennial vote, you will lose every election.
Do you have to pair up enthusiasm with ground game? And when they have 6,000 job postings on the Democrat side to get out ground game and knock on doors, that is a heck of a mountain to climb when you're conservatives with a low prop voting base in an off-year election, okay? So the point is this. Focus on domestic. Focus on policy wins. Perception is reality. You have to show, tell, and reveal to the audience the things that you're doing for them to make their lives easier and better, to make them richer.
Political strategist Cliff Maloney joins us now. So, Cliff, what is your reaction to these election results and where we go from here?
Yeah, hey, Matt, appreciate you guys having me as always. Look, this is not a good night. I think that, the left obviously is going to use this to claim it's some referendum on Trump. The reality is these were all blue states. They were blue races. They were blue districts, right? So you can call it a blue wall, call it whatever you want, but I'm calling it a wake-up call. This is a wake-up call to conservatives, especially the America First movement. We're not going to have Donald Trump on the ballot again. And so getting a lot of the voters the way the Democrats do, they drive their people to the polls. I think this is a huge wake-up call to say we need to get every Republican activated. And just because we have the White House, just because we have the House, we have the Senate, it's not enough. And I don't really know the solution other than to say we have to take the left's tactics and Republicans have to activate. That's the challenge we have in front of us heading into 2026.
What did you see as the principal things that would get these low and no propensity voters that you focus on to actually return those ballots?
Yeah, I mean, listen, let me start with what the left did, right? And then I'll talk about what we saw that worked on the right. I mean, the left, it was very simple. It was, listen, Donald Trump is the devil. This is pushing back on Donald Trump. And I just thought eventually this messaging would stop working. Obviously, I was wrong. I mean, you have to look at the New Jersey race. I mean, she got almost 500,000 more votes than 4 years ago. 500,000, Matt, right? So they're obviously motivated. On the right, a lot of the problems we were having is that when we would talk to people, if they were plugged in, they were watching shows like yours and following what's actually happening in the country, they were very willing to vote, right? They were getting their ballot in ASAP. The problem was when we talked to people, and this is something that happened a lot more than I like to admit, Matt. We would go to somebody's door and they would have a Donald Trump sign in their yard, right? They might come to the door with a Trump 2028 shirt on, but they're not voting. Now, obviously, we'd encourage them to vote, but the tenacity isn't there. The understanding of how important every single one of these elections is to helping the Trump agenda, to helping the America First movement. We have to double down to get these low propensity voters that are all in, they're with us, but they're not engaged and they don't understand. That's the message. If we can get them to understand that, I think we're going to be fine in 2026. But it is a tall order, and we're all going to have to work together to accomplish that.
Speaker Mike Johnson is trying to encourage people through optimism, saying there's great things ahead for young people if you vote Republican. On the other side of the coin, we see Steve Bannon this morning saying on his program that if people didn't vote Republican in 2026 and 2028, if they stayed home, there would be large-scale incarceration of the political right. What do you think is going to motivate people more, being scared of what the left's going to do or believing that there is some great plan by electing Republicans to Congress?
Listen, any battle where you have Steve Bannon on one side and Mike Johnson on the other, I am going to be with Steve Bannon 100% of the time. Look, Bannon's right, and he gets what motivates voters, and it's the truth, right? It's not hyperbole, right? You've been through it. I've been through it. So many great patriots I know have had the justice system thrown at them because political opponents have control, right? This is a battle here. This is not just an ideological or this simple thing where we think we're going to play niceties. No, Bannon is correct. This is about making sure that the radical left doesn't have the ability to utilize the justice system to come after their political opponents. And I don't really think there's anything better to motivate folks on the right that we have to take action to protect our families, to protect our communities. I mean, the left is still siding with illegal immigrants over American citizens. They still think that men should be able to play in girls' sports. Okay, they're not sane individuals on the left. But if we don't react to how crazy they are by taking these elections seriously, we're not going to have a country. We're going to lose our republic. So I'm 100% with Bannon on this, and we need to start motivating people based on what our opponents will do, not just the idea of having lower taxes and these nice things that Republicans in the establishment have pushed for years. That's no longer the country we live in. We need to adapt, or the GOP will be a party of yesteryear.
I think it's a mix. I think you got to have some motivation. You provide a lot of the perspiration out there, getting people at their doorstep to think about politics when maybe it's not at the front of mind. And then you have to paint a picture of what the world's going to look like if this thing swings the other way. We're not all that far removed from lockdowns and some of the most tyrannical restrictions on speech and liberty. And I think you're right. Steve Bannon is correct to point it out. Cliff Maloney, political strategist, one of the very best operatives we have in this movement. I appreciate you as always for coming on and letting people know what time it is.
Thanks, Matt. Take care.